Welcome to another episode of Electro Live. Tonight's a special program tonight. We're going to be celebrating the 40-year anniversary of the hit electro hip hop track Planet Rock. So today we're going to discuss it with a panel. We've got some classic legends on board with us today, and I'll go ahead and introduce everyone here that's in the room with me today. We've got first of all, we have MC G.L.O.B.E, who is one of the members of the Soul Sonic Force, and he's with us here. He's a pioneer and legend in his own right, releasing records like Play That Beat, Mr. DJ, even a 2020 song that he released, Keep Your Distance, really dope track. He was inducted into the Hip Hop Museum in Washington, D.C. quite recently by the Hip Hop Museum's historian, Jay Quan, who we also have in the house with us. Jay Quan is someone I knew growing up in Richmond, Virginia. We used to record rap songs in the same studio back in those days, but these days Jay has his own YouTube channel called The Foundation, where he presents his documentaries of hip-hop legends like MC G.L.O.B.E and others. He's also a music curator for Sony Music and resident hip-hop historian for the Hip Hop Museum in D.C., and he's also a writer for LL Cool J's blog and magazine Rock the Bells. We have Man Parrish, who was a legendary Electro Funk producer who released over 40 records like Hip Hop
40, 150.
150 records. I stand corrected. This man is a legend in his own right.
The old stuff.
Yeah. That's right. Boogie Down Bronx, Hip Hop Bebop, 100 plus more. We have Ray Pinky Velazquez, who's the co-founder of Legends of Vinyl and is known for tracks including the group Twilight 22, Electric Kingdom, Siberian Nights, a huge influence in electro funk history. And he was the A&R man and disco consultant for the Vanguard Records dance music department back then. And last but not least, I'm featuring my partner, Brandon Kahn. We write songs together, and we plan to release the music very soon. Yeah. Brandon was born in New Jersey, and he's now in North Carolina. He's released a few albums and singles, and he's a great lyricist, recording artist, and performer. So let's get into it, guys. What's going on with you? What's good?
Hey.
What's up, man?
Everything is good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, we out here smoking and chilling.
Yeah. So
well,
with Planet Rock, go right ahead, man. I'm gonna let you guys take it away.
All right. Well, I'm MC G.L.O.B.E, the G.L.O.B.E, known to be tops. I invented MC Pop and the lyrics for Planet Rock. Every time I look around, I'm like a new kid on the block, whether the other MCs like it or not. There's a lot of controversy amongst MCs, but they know to stay clear G.L.O.B.E because nevertheless, side triple it up to make it better. Popping and shocking and rocking and putting it aside to hip hop. And I love Planet Rock.
Hey, G.L.O.B.E, can you repeat that? Because I want to plug in something and steal it and put it on a record.
There you go.
you know you can contact me direct, Man Parrish, anytime you want to do so. Let's get it
anytime.
Hey, man, I want to team up with all you guys, man, and we're gonna put it together with my man Brandon. We can put together a huge project. How about that?
Good producer. Wait a minute. Hey.
Yes, but I definitely want to thank everyone for supporting Planet Rock, and because without the support, it would just be another unheard classic for all these years, for the 40 years, and accepting the new influence that we were able to release in the works of the song. I want to shout out Arthur, John, Van Biggs, Powwow, Tom, and everybody else that was included in the success of the song, along with Kraftwerk, of course. And I'm happy to be here to get the acknowledgement for the celebration of the anniversary of that song. I appreciate everybody on the panel and the listeners also.
Hell yeah,
it's a classic. How could you not?
Awesome.
Yes, it was. What was it like? Go ahead, Jay.
No, I just said monumental. That's it. Monumental song. Game changer.
Yeah. It definitely. Ray, chime in, man, because you produced that one track with Twilight 22. That was a huge record in its own right, and was directly
You know,
influenced.
I remember when we finished the track at Vanguard, Twilight 22, and you know, and Gordon Bahari, he was the producer. You know, and I assisted in the production and did the final mix. But the whole concept, and I got to give credit to Tom Silverman and Tommy Boy Records with what they were doing with Afrika, Bambaataa, and the Soul Sonic Force, and MC G.L.O.B.E, and the tracks he put out with Soul Sonic Force, and as an individual artist. There was a chemistry within Tommy Boy that I really liked, that was really urban, really downcore urban. And, you know, at Vanguard, you know, most of our releases were more of the R&B type of, you know, we had Fonda Ray, we had Carol Williams, you know, we had different artists, but more on the R&B vibe. And I knew, you know, as a DJ myself, I was spinning records, and I knew, you know, that Melly Mel and what was the track, the big track he had, Melly Mel?
Oh, and the
Message.
The Message.
Yeah, the Message initially.
White Lines.
You know, white Lines. You know, I mean, there was a vibration that was hitting the streets hard, even though radio was, you know, I mean, radio was playing some of this stuff, but it wasn't like their cup of tea yet to start playing a lot of this stuff. So with Vanguard, I realized, hey, you know, I'm working for a record company, and my job is not to look pretty. My job is to sell records. You know, if I'm not selling, my records are not in the store, and we're not selling records, what are we doing? So I knew that doing Twilight 22, and what happened was, you know, I sent Gordon Bahari, and check this out, Gordon Bahari is a protege of Stevie Wonder. You know, talk about R&B and pop, you know, R&B. Well, Gordon grew up as, you know, playing with Stevie or arranging music with Stevie. He learned a lot from Stevie. So Gordon sends me some music, and I didn't know him yet at Vanguard, but he sent me some music, a package of CDs regarding his new stuff, and I didn't really like it. It was too R&B-ish, too secondary market R&B, kind of filler stuff for radio. But the man had a feel for melody. He had a great feel for melody, and I knew that he picked that up from Stevie. So because of the fact that I knew he was talented, I called him and I said, Gordon, you know, you sent me some stuff. I really don't like any of your stuff, but I do like where you're coming from melodically. You know, you have a sense of pretty melodies.
Yeah, he was a melody maker. He was a synth wizard too.
Absolutely. He had his own studio in Huntington, New York, and he just did a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff he was trying to do was to try to emulate Stevie Wonder. You know, and I picked that up. And yet, with that emulation, he was not as good as Stevie, but he had a good feel for little tiny melodies.
With the music.
You know,
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I was just gonna say,
Right.
like, as far as Planet Rock, Globe, how did that record come to be, in your own words? Like, fill our audience in, man. Like, how did that record start? Like, how did it all begin?
Well, you know, thank you for asking, and that was very interesting about you know, our Vanguard records. That was dope. You know, Bambaataa was always a Class A DJ when it came to introducing new sound when he played, and everyone was doing covers of other songs back then in order to do their rap song. Sugar Hill Gang with Good Times, Liquid, White Lines. That was the technique of creating a rap song back then. So the competition was at that time was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and I wanted to do a song that would blow out anything that they were coming out with, and it had to be something that no one I heard ever rap on or attempt to rap on. So I was on the way home with Powwow, and there was a gentleman by the name of Pume, he rest in peace, and we were talking out loud. Powwow and I were conversing out loud, like, what do you think we should do? So Pooh said Numbers by Kraftwerk. I said, yeah, that's true. I never heard anybody try to rock to that. I said, I know I can rip that. I can come up with something for that. So that's how it began. And of course, word of mouth got around to everybody getting involved. And the first attempt to make Planet Rock, at first it was talk of using Another One Bites the Dust. There was talk of using a James Brown tune. There was talk of using Champ for our first release, but everyone decided that upbeat was going to be the move to make, which was smart. And the rest is history. Arthur and John, they made one attempt to do it. Really wasn't there. So they made a second attempt, and it was spot on. And the lyrics were already formulating in my head because I had nothing to work with at the time but numbers. And I came up with the flow before I actually wrote the actual lyric. And that all took place in different places. Katona Park, my home. I wrote a little bit of it in the studio. But the concept of it was to create a place where people came to party and have a good time, positive energy, influential stuff. So that's basically where it came from, to my knowledge. And then there are all the other elements that were included, such as Trans Europe Express, the Mexican, Super Sperm. We all know the story how people made contributions to that. But it really came from, if I could really summarize, it came from a place that was a peaceful place, a peaceful state of mind, a positive state of mind, because that's all we were used to when we would go to the jams. Everybody was getting along. It was fun. It was, the place to be. So we needed a jam like that. And yeah.
Well, you were known as a lyricist that was so poetic, and and you really put it on Planet Rock when you described what Planet Rock was and all that. It was really, really illustrative, if I might say. Go ahead, Man Parrish. Oh, you're muted, my man. Hey, Man Parrish, you're muted. Unmute.
That's my buddy there, boy.
Yeah,
right. I'm the guy with the computer.
Man,
too much cocaine, man. Too much cocaine, brother.
Hey, listen. When they call you a legend, that just means you're an old fart, and they're just trying to be nice to you, all right? So I had a senior moment, okay? I had a senior moment. Anyway, you talk about community and all that. There's also Vanguard Studios was the only place in town where you can get in for $25 an hour. They didn't have much gear, which turned out to be a really good thing because we didn't do a lot of signal processing. But Vanguard Studios, everybody recorded there. I did IOU Freeze, Shannon, Alicia, on and on and on and on and on. It was like, if you know your music history, in the South, there was Muscle Shoals, which did all the Aretha Franklin. Vanguard Studios, and if people are listening and live in New York, that's now the Gotham Comedy Club. It's like the Muscle Shoals for very early hip hop. Everybody worked in that studio. We used to go in at 8 o'clock at night, pay $25 an hour, and for a couple of $100, we would go from 8 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock the next morning. And we would not know what we were going to do. Bring in the drum machine, bring in Prophet 5 synthesizer. And I'm writing the stuff, and Raul Rodriguez is there with some girl he's fucking this week to sing vocals, And by midnight, we printed the vocals, and 3 in the morning, we're kind of mixing it, and bang, we had a record the next day. We were doing Two Sisters or COD in the Bottle or something like that. So there was a community. I mean, I remember sitting in the room outside looking in, and Bambaataa Bam was sitting there with his guy. What was it, Dr. Pepper? Get his Dr. Pepper. They get up and do whatever, party people, whatever. And then I go in, and then the guys doing AEIOU were behind, looking into my session. So it was this incredibly productive thing. And I also want to talk about the record production. WKTU in New York City was the street label that we all put our stuff out on. And they approached me one day. I don't know if you remember, there was a vocoder robot voice that went 92 KTU. Well, I did those for free. And in exchange, they took anything that we put out and put it into heavy rotation. Carlos De Jesus.
Wow.
So we built.
That was dope, man.
I mean, you couldn't pay for that, right? But what it did is it allowed other artists and people to KTU switched from I guess they were R&B or whatever, they switched to the synthesizer freestyle thing, with their robot voice. So they really made a mark in New York City as a place for planet rock, hip hop people, all these records to come out. And then the record label that I worked with, which I didn't get paid either from, so don't worry, guys. They would call up like BLS or Kiss and say, this record's number one, you got to push it up the charts. And all those guys, Tommy Silverman and all those people were friends, and they used the same strategy. So if G.L.O.B.E put out a record that really paved the way for a lot of these artists to get their stuff on the radio when other stations wouldn't touch it. BLS, had Red Alert, but that was a little bit later, in spinning that stuff. But KTU was the home for all of us, and Vanguard Studios in New York was the place where everybody went. I mean, there were other studios too, but you couldn't get it cheaper than at Vanguard Studios. So there was such a community. My record label used to put bags of Coke and MDA in the label, in the record, and send it to DJs and billboard reporters and record pools and tell them, hey, with a note, here's a little gift. Would you please record it?
More to come.
Fuck, So, yeah, it was hard, but we made it through. There was no music like that. There was no reference, you know what I mean? So we were creating a whole brand new style of shit that people didn't hear about. And then how do you get that out to the public, So, you dope up all the fucking record people and you go downtown records, 103 records and a bag of Coke, and they put you up in the front.
There you go.
That's how it works,
Go ahead, Jay.
May I say, excuse me, Jay Quan, before you go in, you mentioned Two Sisters, Man Parrish. And
you know what the name is behind that? Raul Rodriguez and I hung out so much that there's some queen in the office at the record label said, "Oh, you two, you're like two sisters." And Raul and I woke up and he said, "Great name for a band. See you later. Let's book Vanguard." And that's
well, I tell you one thing, you guys sure didn't look like them, because when I went to the studio and worked with them and did B-Boys Beware, that was awesome, man. It was dope working with them.
That was all stuff that I came in and I did stuff with, and I wrote a little bit, and then I was working on other stuff, so I couldn't finish it. And then Raul, went in there and did vocals and stuff like that. So I was COD with Raul, Cash on Delivery. We were IRT, Watch the Closing Doors. That was me, Two Sisters. I mean, tons of records I worked on, but we would get $50. Like, really? Oh man, $50! I could buy peanut butter tomorrow. That's what it was like. It was hands.
What's up, Jay?
Yeah, well, first I just like to say, it's an honor to be amongst Pinky. I used to buy records like a lot of us who were young, man. I took my paper route money, and I wouldn't have to hear the record first. I looked at the credits, so I knew if Herb Powers had mastered something, was going to be good. I know if Pinky's name was on it, was going to be good. And of course, I was a huge fan of Soul Sonic 4. So to be amongst the three of you guys, for a cat that's been collecting records since I was like 7 or 8, is really an honor to be amongst you guys. I wanted to say, as far as Planet Rock, just the influence of the subject matter. You're talking about when G.L.O.B.E was saying he wanted to talk about a place that was magical, you know, that influence, it went on to other electro records like Egypt by Egyptian Lover. If you listen to even Electric Kingdom, all those records, you know, they paid kind of a homage to Planet Rock by talking about these, like Egypt said, "Give me a freaky, kinky nation," you know, with female. So all those records talked about these kind of fantasy places. So from there, you know, you had Clear by Cybertron, just a line of, you know, the Hashem records. Of course, you know, Bebop, you know, from Man Parrish, and, you know, all of those records, man, even the Two Sisters. I wanted to ask Man Parrish, the Two Sisters, the two women that were on the LP and on the video, they are the girls that are singing? Are those the actual girls?
Yeah. One of them was the girl that Raul was fucking, Teresa. So, I mean, we had to find a singer, right? I'm fucking this girl. She said she can sing. Can she? I don't know. Let's get her in, and if not, she'll blow me in the bathroom. One way or another, he's going to win, right? I mean, it was like that. I mean, I'm talking real, okay? You know,
I see.
Put on the microphone, and it's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So,
she's
no
real,
blowjob
man.
tonight, Raul. Maybe after the session, but she's going to sing. You know what I mean?
Hey, if you like the content you're hearing, please like and subscribe. There's more coming up. Go for it, man. Tell them.
This is downhill from here now, folks.
That's right.
Hey, excuse me, Man Parrish.
We covered Coke.
I got a story
NBA
I would love for you to share with us.
Yeah.
Would you please tell the story? If Bubba doesn't get us in trouble.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But it was
I
like,
want
you know, you did what you sang, your friend sang, you know, your girlfriend or whoever sang, and you put a record together. So those two girls, Teresa sang. The other girl, I think, was a friend of hers, if I remember. I mean, Raul was deeper into that because he was getting results in a different way. But I did the record, and then I remember I stepped out because I had stuff I had to do that day or another session or something, and he finished it off. And Mark Berry, who's still around, a lot of you guys know, he's up in Canada now, and I talk to him occasionally and stuff, but he engineered most of that. And another story involving getting laid is I learned how to engineer because Mark Berry, and Mark, you're going to kill me for this, but I've said this many times before, he had some girl upstairs in that apartment building above Vanguard, and he would just leave. And like, where's Mark? Oh, I don't know. He's upstairs with that girl. And we would call him, "Hey, Mark, how do you plug the reverb into the bus line?" Or something like that. And that's how we learned how to mix because, you know, Raul was busy. I mean, Mark was busy all the time. So
damn,
it was very raw. You know, it was very street. It was very, you just figured it out and you did it.
That's what it was. Go ahead and ask your question, man.
Parrish, the story about the show he did with Madonna.
Couple of shows with Madonna. Yeah, go ahead. One specific?
The specific one where you know which one I'm talking about.
Well, there was Studio 54.
The one where she got a little upset.
Say it again?
She got a little upset because we wore the crown out.
So I played Studio 54, came down from the ceiling. She hit all of our costumes and told us that she's the star and she's going on first. Oh, that bullshit. But this was at the Red Parrot, and it was it Soul Sonic Force? Was it Planet Rock? Soul Sonic Force, me, and Madonna, right? And I think Soul Sonic went on first at around 10 or 11. I went on at midnight, the Red Parrot on 57th Street, and Madonna went on like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was like a Wednesday night freestyle night. And most of the crowd was left or whatever, and she started bitching on the microphone, you know, a bunch of losers and blah, blah, blah. She came upstairs and had a big fit. Man Parrish ruined my show. They were all exhausted from clapping and singing along and happy with him that they had no energy for me. You know what I mean?
The Madonna, get it?
That's my girl. I love her to death.
You know what I mean? And funny enough, years and years later in the 90s, I went to England and the record company needed something to promote the record. And this crazy motherfucker at the record label told the press that I was sleeping with Madonna. And it's funny how this has always been in my life. And they followed us around for a week because she had dumped Sean Penn, a lie, and went with me. But the good side of it is we got to eat for free every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the dime of all these things. And I made it on the front cover of the newspapers. At the bottom, it says Madonna longs for my baby. So this Madonna thing has been in and out of my life, in these really weird, crazy, stupid, situations. But yeah, she got pissed off and complained. And I had John Carter, who was doing the rhyme, and he came with some of his friends. And while she was on stage, they went into her dressing room because she had a tray of like food, and they ate everything. So after she was bitching the guy out in the hallway for me to hear it, she went back into her dressing room and blew a fit because all the food had bite marks in it. This is gross. Let me put it back down. So that's the shit, man. Being on the road, rock and roll, disco, rock and roll, baby.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a lot of those stories, man.
But yeah, man, Planet Rock was like a huge influence. Like Arthur Baker said he got a 808 that really drove Planet Rock. But Man Parrish, I think you were the first one in New York City to have one of those machines, right?
So when we did that shit, I was doing years before that, like electronic music, right? Smoking weed, turning dials. I built my first synthesizer, 78. I mean, I'm that old, right? And then later on, I wanted a $2,000 synthesizer, and I went to my mom and dad, and I said, I wanted a synthesizer. It's like $2,500. She said, I'm not giving that to you. And I told my mother I was going to become a male prostitute and sell drugs if she didn't give me the money. And she said, let me speak to your father, right? So I got my first real synthesizer, which was an ARP 2600. And I was doing like experimental music. And I had the little CR78 drum machine, which had samba, disco, like, the kind of stuff that was funky pianos,
CR,
and then the 808 came out, right? And I thought, holy shit, now I don't have to hire a drummer because I can't read or write music. I don't need a bass player anymore. I can actually do music myself. And I started experimenting with that, right? But it was a porn soundtrack that got me my record deal, and then they discovered hip hop bebop, which was more like an ambient electronic piece of music with a beat on it, right? And they said, well, let's turn this into something. So we were going to the Fun House with Jelly Bean, and we all know the Fun House. And I think Arthur was, sitting there, and there was a girl with long black hair and hairy armpits with a T-shirt that said "I'm Madonna." We used to call her the Skank, another Madonna thing, right? And all of a sudden, everybody started barking, "Ooh, ooh!" in the room, and I went, "What the fuck is going on?" I said, if people like the track, they'll bark at the record. I said, let's put that on that hip hop bebop thing. Let's bark back at the crowd. And we thought it was only going to be like something at the Fun House. They'd play it once or twice, and we'd bug people out because there'd be dog barks on it, right? And boom, it blew up.
It blew the fuck up. Yeah. They just ran that barking stuff out the fucking
Arsenio Hall. You go on and on and on and on.
Records and all that shit. Planet Patrol.
Yeah.
That's how me and Jay got started. We were in porn too.
You know who?
Right, Jay?
He said he did porn.
How did that happen? How did you guys just get involved in porn?
I'll tell you my story real quick. Is I knew somebody who was in a like a really had some like bad porn magazine, like Titties Galore or some stupid magazine like that. And he goes, you do music, right? I said, yeah, you know that. He goes, this guy's doing a porn soundtrack, and he's looking for somebody to do music. And I'm a 23-year-old boy with a heart on, to be honest. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna do porn. I'm gonna sit there all day and watch movies and make music, right? And he said, no, I just need 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 12 minutes here. And I said, I don't get to watch the movie. He said, no. I said, well, how much? He said, I'll give you $1,000. A whole $1,000. Oh shit. Okay. And I just sat there, did this porn track. I got the $1,000. And then about 3 months later, somebody said, you know that song Heat Stroke that you did? Well, they're playing it down at the gay sex club called the Anvil on 14th Street in the highway. And I went, what? He goes, go down there. And I walked in, and it's like, you know, there was a fire-breathing drag queen, and some guy sitting on dildos shooting them across the stage with his asshole. And I went, oh my God, I love this place. I'm home. You know what I mean? Like, great. So all the
Whoa.
comes on, and I crawl to the DJ booth, and the guy goes, no request, no request. I said, wait a minute, no request.
Well,
That's my
Wasn't
song. He goes,
expecting that.
hey, listen, if you like these Man Parrish stories, STORIES on YouTube, I got 40 of these.
He's got crazy
Donald,
stories.
Village
Crazy
people. I tell
stories.
every
Crazy.
fucking story, man. I work with Crystal Waters, all that kind of shit. But he said, no requests. I said, that's my record. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I wrote that song. I said, where did you get that? He goes, I made an acetate off the VHS of the music in the back, and you could hear people moaning. You know, he said, let me give you my number, DJ Lance Weiss. I'll take you up to Import 12 Records tomorrow, because they would love to put it out on Disconet, which was a DJ mixing service back in those days, that they would take songs when the record companies didn't, and they would edit them with razor blades back in those days, and extend them out to dance floor.
Wow.
I went up the next day and I signed a one-page, you know, your grandmother's furniture and your firstborn kind of record deal, and no advance, no nothing. And so 5 million records and 80 million for Grand Theft Auto at $1 a record, that's 85 million bucks, and I've never seen a penny. You know what I mean? I mean,
Damn.
now I reclaim my music, but after the 35-year thing. But yeah, it was, you know, I did it for love, you know, not for money. You know.
Well, how long did Planet Rock take to make that song? Like, I know that they, you know, according to the Wikipedia, like Looking for the Perfect Beat took like a long time to make, I guess. How long did Planet Rock take?
You know, actually, it was cold outside. I remember that when started working on it. And it really wasn't a matter of the construction of the song or the actual recording of the song. It was the time window of the release. And of course, you want to, once you find out you have a good record, you want to have a budget that's going to promote and market it properly so it reaches its full potential. And Tom has always been very, very scientific when it came to releasing songs, and it pays a lot of, it shows why he's so successful. And we recorded it during the winter, and we were expecting to release the first month of the new year, but it actually didn't happen until like March or something like that. And
I don't take up too much time, but I got a question. Didn't Arthur make a master copy of the 24 track to another machine, erase tracks, and use that as a foundation for these other, Looking for the Perfect Beat, all that kind of stuff? Because I don't think
okay, so what happened with that? But yeah, that's the story behind the time window and blah 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 blah. But it didn't take long to do it. But Looking for the Perfect Beat is a completely different beat. But what he did do was use the same masters for Planet Patrol.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Looking for the Perfect Beat was a completely different animal. Renegades of Funk, completely different animal.
Great tracks, amazing tracks. I still listen to them.
Yes, which I also wrote the lyrics for, and jacked it, Jack the Loca and Rage Against the Machine, they covered it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, but you know, it didn't take us long to record stuff because I always made sure it was right. You know, it had to be right. You know, this is your part, that's your part, that's your part. Boom. And the rest would be getting the sound production to the point it reached to be so revolutionary and just I mean,
Here's another question, man.
Arthur and John enough credit, man. They really did it.
Here's a question I have, and I always wondered this too. Like with Planet Rock, I noticed the kick drum had a lot more boom. That 808 boom was in there a little bit more. And I know that with the records, you know, you wanted to keep the bass a little bit back because it would fill up the, you know, the record length, the groove, or whatever.
Yeah, the grooves would throw it off. Yeah, drown everything out.
But Planet Rock had more bass than say like Looking for the Perfect Beat, even Renegades, and the rest of those.
You
records.
want me to tell you? I could answer that story
go
because
ahead.
I could answer that story because what's his name? Mark Berry, who was recording all these sessions. Arthur Baker came in with my record. My record sounded good because I recorded on an 8-track, which does compression and just makes stuff sound fat and warm. And when I brought it to the studio, I was very insistent that it didn't go through the mixing board, that we would pull the 24-track out and plug my 8 tracks into the first 8 tracks on the recorder, so there would be no loss. Now you can make digital copies. Back in those days, you had a generation loss in the sound quality, right? So when my record came out, Arthur Baker came in and threw my record down and started flipping out on Mark Berry. Why does Man Parrish's record sound so good? My record sound like shit. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks to Mark Berry getting laid, I would go and I'd turn that knob up to 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
A lot of that stuff was put out really quickly. So when you made a record back then, you weren't making a legendary hit record. You were making a record. It's like, oh, shit, I got 4 hours. Let me do it. So some of those I may not have had the time to drill down and really tune it because they didn't have 3 days in the studio mixing. They had to get it done by midnight because they had a special. Give me $200. You have Vanguard Studio, but you have to be out by midnight because someone else is coming in. So they may have rushed. I mean, they sound incredible. And
they sound incredible.
I do Tidal now, TIDAL, Jay-Z's thing, and I listen to the masters of these things, and I have like in-ear monitors. I don't have them here, but they're really high-quality in-ear monitors, and I listen to the FLAC and the Wave masters. That shit sounds unbelievable. I mean, really.
Ever since
was the MCI mixing board, the MCI tape recorder. There was a box there that had a piece of metal in it that was the reverb plate. And later on, we got an Eventide digital delay, which we scratched out the words to say "even I dig a lay," and that was it. We didn't have. I think I brought in my my Korg. I can only remember the number of it. I got it in somewhere in there. The Korg digital delay, but there wasn't a lot of stuff. The signal path from what you recorded to what wound up on those masters was pretty pure.
Dude, it's like ever since Miami bass, rap music has expanded the bass sound. Like if you listen to trap music, drill music today, it's like heavy bass. It's like boom.
Well,
but back then,
most of our stuff was mastered at Frankfurt Wayne by Herbie Powers, and Herbie Powers was a mastering engineer, and I would sit in on the sessions, and he would explain to me to get bass on a 12-inch, you literally have to space the grooves further apart. Because if the grooves are too close and a bass note comes through, it'll actually push the record out of the groove and make the record skip.
Yeah.
So Herbie, a lot of guys wouldn't do it, but Herbie, like make those grooves wide. Let's pump up the bass,
Egyptian Lover did too. I think Egyptian Lover said he was one of the guys that used to love that bass 808 sound because he would let it just go at his little shows. If you look at some of
those records, it would say 12. We would write stuff he would write stuff for us around the label because he could scratch stuff into it. They used to scratch in like a serial number. And we put in stuff like 12 black inches in a hole or, fuck your mama or something like that. So if you find the originals of those records, that was a little hidden like Easter egg in there if you look at the labels and all that. But
he always, I think his girlfriend was named Angie. He would always write Herbie Loves Angie on the Round.
I've got a record with that in there. Yep.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, Herbie was great because he understood street music and he understood the power of bass stuff. You know what I mean? And then you get people driving down the street with a big subwoofer. I live in an Italian neighborhood. We used to call them Daddalacs. You know what I mean? And boom, boom, boom. But those were your 808 records because 808s were at a nice frequency where they weren't. You didn't have really good quality sound systems like you have now. So between 250 cycles and 100 cycles, that 808 is probably like 150 cycles. So that would take an 8-inch woofer or a 12-inch woofer, and really that was that frequency that would bang those out. You know what I mean?
Let me ask Pinky a question real quick. Multi-part question. When Twilight 22 did Siberian Nights, of course, it sounded a lot like Electric Kingdom. We used to mix them together, and I used to love Siberian Nights. I'm pretty sure that the inspiration for that was because Electric Kingdom was so successful financially. He's trying to do, part 2 of Electric Kingdom.
Absolutely. and again, the whole concept of Twilight 22 came from Tommy Boy, Tom Silverman, and the success of Planet Rock, Afrika Bambaataa, MC G.L.O.B.E. That inspiration carried over to Vanguard, and we decided to do something like that. That rhythm track, boom, 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 killer freestyle, killer hip hop, and every record that has come out with that rhythm track has made damage in the record business ever since that time. My question for MC G.L.O.B.E. is, who inspired that rhythm track? Where did that rhythm track come from? I know who produced the record, but where did the inspiration come to do that rhythm track? We took
Kraftwerk. I gotta give it to Kraftwerk, because if you listen to Kraftwerk, man, that song it's an old pagan beat, and they took it and they produced it and made it current and acceptable. So we basically did the same thing with the same rhythm. It's the same rhythm, and it's actually a rock beat.
That's right.
That snare and that kick pattern is actually a rock beat, but it's really pagan. And I give it to Kraftwerk, but the genius of meshing it to make it sound the way it sounds is like John and Arthur, hands down.
The laser blast, those little laser sounds that really just emphasize.
Yeah, where did that come from? Like, where's the whole
I'll tell you. I'll tell you exactly, because the 808 drum machine had something called a trigger out, and we didn't have sequencers, right? So if you got a boo on your synthesizer, you would program usually the rim shot. Dun, 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 dun. You would turn the volume of the rim shot down on your 808.
Right. Trigger it, sync it
out of the back, and trigger your synthesizer. So you got that.
Go ahead, Brandon.
So it's synchronized with your drums, because there was no MIDI, there was no SMPTE, there was no way to synchronize that stuff. And people hired me because I could then do multiple overdubs over multiple tracks, because my finger was so fast I could hit the down. It's like DJing two records and keeping them in sync. I hit the downbeat of that drum machine. I go about 12 or 14 tracks. Then we'd have to roll back 2 or 3 tracks, punch in again, and at track 12, hit it again, and go another 18, 20 tracks. And we do that over multiple tracks.
Oh, dude, I did a documentary on all you guys except for Jay and Brandon, of course. But Ray, MC G.L.O.B.E, Soul Sonic Force, Afrika Bambaataa, Kraftwerk, Man Parrish. I've got and we go over that, how you used to manually have to re-trigger the pulse so that it would sync up, after every so many measures, like 16 or whatever it was.
And these fucking kids would go, "Oh my God, you lived in the glory days of analog synthesizers." I said, "Are you fucking crazy? You do a bass sound and then just go away later and come back 2 hours later, and it sounded like a flute, because the circuits would heat up and the oscillators would drift." I said, "You have no idea how lucky you are. You press a button and there's a bass sound, or you have a sample of a drum. I mean, shit." Hey,
Brandon. What were you gonna say? I think I missed you, man. What did you want to say?
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna ask MC G.L.O.B.E, where did the the techno vibe, or not the techno, excuse me, like the electric vibe, what made you want to incorporate that into hip hop? Because I'm gonna keep it 100. I had no idea that Looking for the Perfect Beat was y'all, because the first time I heard that was off the Todd Smith LL Cool J album with J.Lo.
Yeah.
So like big
J.Lo on it.
Fly, yo, that's mad fly.
Yeah,
what made y'all want to incorporate that electric sound? Like, where'd that come from?
Well,
because that's obviously.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, Brandon, to be perfectly honest with you, that sound was the European sound, which highlighted everything that we did when it came to electro. The marketing and the promotional aspect was very clever on the part of the record company to continue to keep that electro thing going, because it was innovative to our American style of listening to music, and it was something that was coming out of the UK. So I didn't complain.
Depeche Mode, those kind of groups were making those sounds, and we were emulating them, but made them street.
Right, exactly. So anything that like Arthur would say, listen, Globe, I want you to listen to this beat. I want you to do something. It was the same story with all of our songs. Globe, check this out.
Who was picking that up? Not to cut you off. I'm sorry, but who was picking that up from the UK? That was like, yo, y'all got to hear this, and we got to match this together.
That was. I'm going to tell you what it was. Honestly, it was being part of record pools where you got the latest releases, and it may not be hot in your area yet. Because you know how music moves. Sometimes it comes from the South up. Sometimes it comes from overseas over here, or from over here to overseas like hip hop did.
Arthur Baker,
it's how it moves.
Yeah, but you also
Arthur
have to
Baker
realize there
said,
wasn't a lot of electro music on New York, in New York or American radio. It was disco, the end of disco. There was some hip hop happening. There was jazz,
funk,
rock and roll, and whatever pop was, the Elton John shit or whatever's on the radio. So if you weren't into that, or you wanted to listen to something other than funk or R&B, you started listening overseas. You know what I mean? You'd go to record stores and they'd be playing something like, Telex's Moscow Disco. What's that? You know what I mean? And you picked up on these sounds. Now you get on the internet, you can hear everything. But back then there wasn't a big musical choice. And when the synthesizer thing came on, you were like, what? So you followed that.
Import.
Import
sound.
Import.
Jay.
Anything imported is more valuable if you notice. You pay for anything that's imported. It's like, oh wow, that's dope. But again, like Man Parrish said, with the technology today, it's more accessible. But there's another element that is not usually mentioned in the creation of that sound, which is the Latina world. Because if you listen to our stuff, it has a Latina feel to it. And in New York City, the clubs were rocking, it was a Latina thing, an Italian thing, the disco. And, I could have been another type of dude that said, I can't write to this stuff. But I said, nah, I'm gonna make this happen.
Yeah,
and we did.
That was my next thing I was going to ask you, like hearing that new sound, like that new vibe. How did you attack that beat? Because clearly you wasn't going at it the way that you was probably hearing like other stuff, previously.
No, Brandon, I'm gonna tell you, you have to be, as you being a young artist coming up, don't be afraid to try new things. You gotta like think out of the box, and that makes people say, "Whoa, who's that?" Because it's tough now to get something out that's innovative because everybody's doing the same thing. So always keep that in mind.
Very lucky. I think these guys today are very lucky because they have a huge thing to fall back on. They could listen to artists through 40 years of doing this stuff for ideas. When we did it, we were just doing shit and making sounds and trying to sound different. Somebody today could get on the internet and go research stuff over in China to see what it sounds like and clip it in their records, and it's cool. So people today have a much easier, they have like a library in front of them of the internet, you know what I mean? Or iTunes, if you pay for a subscription service, you have 200 million tracks to listen to. We didn't have that. We had to buy. I have $20 in my pocket. Can I spend 12 on a record? It's good. I want to go home and break it down in my head. And you didn't listen to it on your Walkman. You listened to it on your vinyl because there weren't Walkmans.
Man, me and Jay both.
You're in a much better place now than we were for expanding your mind for songs. Back then, if you did ambient music, you're a weird. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? You could do a beat with ambient music and people think it's cool and it's lounge. Back then, it's like, dude,
chill out lounge.
What the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Because I did the ambient music and I am a freak. So,
Back in the day, me and Jay used to go to record stores. Him and his life, and me and mine, we'd go to record stores and spend like all of our money on records and probably come out with like 2 or 3 good things, and the rest of it was garbage. That was the way to discover new music back then. It was ridiculous.
It really was. Like I
store
said,
would know you and know what you listen to, and they go, "Come here, let me play this
Right.
record. It's perfect for you." And you had a relationship with somebody at the record store, and oh shit, I got this record. You got to come over here, listen to this. So it was a whole different trip than it is now. You had to get your ass. You couldn't text the record store. You know what I mean? Or you had to get your ass out, take the N train, the B train, the number 7 train, and go down to your record store, up to your record store.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jay.
And stand in line to get attention. You know what I mean? Because he's with somebody else. It was cool.
Yeah, I bought, like I said before, I bought records based on the familiarity of the label and, like I said, who mastered it, whatever. Like I remember, I had already had Hip Hop Bebop. Then I saw your album, Man, with the yellow cover.
Oh, did I hate that cover? I hated that. I still hate that cover.
Really? I like that cover. I love that cover, man.
I want it to be like Erasure. I want it to be like one of those European bands, right? So I wanted to have, like some cool, like black goth, whatever the fuck, with hair and makeup and be like, I'm cool, I'm European, And they showed me this shit, and I was like, this is like a Puerto Rican explosion, like what the fuck happened here,
My favorite cover was Renegades of Funk.
Let me tell you
Renegades of Funk.
Oh man, get about it.
I have a song called Together Again on my album, and I thought that's like Erasure or Human League or what. I did a pop song, and that's going to hit the airwaves with a little push, and then no Hip Hop Bebop. I went, you can't put that record out. There's no verse, there's no chorus, there's dog barking. It's an album fill track. No. Jelly Bean's playing it and like crazy, and you're gonna get no, you're gonna embarrass me. And that cover, you know what I mean? I went through it.
No, but I thought it was a dope album. Like I always meant to ask you about 6 Simple synthesizers. Was that?
That's me being stupid and silly. I had to come up with 2 extra tracks. One was techno tracks, which I did in about 15 minutes. Hurry up, we got another 20 minutes. We need another track. Turn on the tape recorder.
I like it. It reminded me of like Pocket Calculator by Kraftwerk or something like that. I like
Well, that was me being stupid. I said, I need to write a song. I got 6 synthesizers, 6 simple playing on the song, 6 playing all. I mean, it's like if it wasn't for that vocoder, it wouldn't have worked because it's stupid. You know what I mean? But it worked, and I had to get a song down. And then I had my friend Klaus Nomi, who used to sing opera. So my twisted side, because if you listen on Boogie Down Bronx on the B-side, there's all that kind of stuff. I like that crazy off-the-wall shit. So Klaus Nomi is a guy who used to sing in women's opera range. I forgot what they call it, like some
rooster
sort of
range.
Yeah.
I used to think it was a rooster in there.
I got
like,
a dick, but I sing like a pussy range. Anyway, and I remember Mark Berry, the record company guy, and Raul were on the floor cracking up. I said, no, come on. Yeah, this guy's twisted. Let's get this on the record. It's so freaking crazy. And they had to straighten up, and that's 6 simple synthesizers. It's just my silly side. You know what I mean? John Carter came into my bedroom and did Boogie Down Bronx in 1 take. I rewound the tape recorder, and I took track out A, put it into my vocoder, and brought it in on track B and played along with him. And that's how that record was done. But that wasn't meant to be anything incredible. It was just to be fun and silly.
Well, I got an import of that right here. I don't know if hopefully you can see it. What was your look?
Oh, that motherfucker. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
It looks like you were going for like Adam Ant or something like that. What was the look?
Adam Ant.
That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be, not a drag queen, but I wanted to be like, like not Boy George, but cool with eye makeup and shit. And in the live show, we used to have Dry Ice come across the stage. And in between me is a puppet, and we had this creature come out.
Yeah, that little
I stood there with this hood over my face and smoke coming out of my face, so it looked like I was forming out of a thing of smoke. And this creature would pull my head off, and we'd start screaming and dancing, and throwing out balloons into the audience and all that kind of shit. So
cocaine is a hell of a
I
drug.
did what I could, I can't sing, I can't write, but I had to do smoke and mirrors. I thought either that or they're gonna fucking throw shit at me.
A lot of cocaine.
I didn't, the
the cover for Renegades of Funk was done by Bob Camp. So
Bob Camp.
Bob Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he also
I
did
love
he did
that.
a lot of he
Hey,
did a nucleus cover too, and of course he did all that Batman stuff too. But dope artist.
oh man,
Oh yeah.
that Renegades. I used to look at that thing every day, man.
Me too.
Listen to that shit, and then just like,
I had it
oh
on my
my god,
wall. I had it on my wall.
yeah, I do too.
Is this stuff in the hip hop museum?
Was that?
Is this stuff in the hip hop museum?
Some of it is. I know the Renegades of Funk cover is, and I think yeah, Globe actually signed and this is the DC museum. Globe actually signed a copy of Play That Beat when I inducted him early last year. But yeah, that stuff is in there, and yeah, that's an iconic cover. I got it on a T-shirt, and that's one of my favorite T-shirts. I mean,
Wow.
when I saw that cover, I immediately bought that record. Renegades of Funk, very effective cover. I gotta go in a minute, so I don't want to dominate anything. I want to ask Ray one more question though. When you were doing A&R at Vanguard, did you sign Spectrum City that became Public Enemy later?
Yes. You know, Tim Olfey brought over the group to me, and we had a little meeting at Vanguard Records. He played me their stuff. He played me Lies. He played me Check Out the Radio. And I love the vocal qualities of the group. I love Chucky D, Flavor Flav. And I said, if we're going to sign this group, we got to go back into the studio and simplify the tracks. There was too much bass, too many Fender Rhodes, too much of a jazz vibe, even though the rappers sounded real good. So we went back into the studio. I reproduced Lies, reproduced Check Out the Radio,
Wow.
released the track. I basically stripped down everything down to rhythm track, bass. We put a couple of James Brown riffs on Lies in the middle of the record, from that James Brown track,
Mm-hmm.
and we released it. The record was not a major success, Jay. It was okay. We didn't do the numbers that we thought we could do with them. Immediately we got involved with Gordon Bahari and Twilight 22 based on the success of Planet Rock at Tommy Boy. We got involved in that project, and we got so involved with Twilight 22 because they took off. We did Siberian Nights right after that. We did the album after that we didn't have time. Vanguard was not a major label, and the owners of Vanguard Records, Maynard Solomon, Seymour Solomon, the Solomon brothers, they were a little, they were not in with the disco, with the dance stuff. They were older guys, and they wanted to do things one step at a time, one record at a time. Let's see how this record does. Let's do all our feedback. Let's get our numbers together on these tracks, and then proceed with the next record. Well,
how about Fat Rap by Fonda Ray? Were you involved with Fat Rap?
yes, I did the actual mix and a little bit of additional production on that track. A lot of fun with Fonda, great vocalist. And
Wow.
that club was big. I mean, Larry was playing that track at the garage, heavy duty. So obviously in the clubs you got the instrumental and the vocals going back and forth. You know what I mean? So getting back to Public Enemy, we only did one record with them. I really wanted to do one more because I really liked the guys, but we were too caught up with Twilight 22 and the success, so we had to let them go. They walked over to Columbia Records, changed their name from Spectrum City on Vanguard to Public Enemy on CBS, and they took off.
Yeah, man.
Great story.
And that's
yeah.
true. But I always loved those guys. They were very talented.
Now with Planet Rock, MC G.L.O.B.E, did you guys ever imagine that Planet Rock was going to be as influential? When you think about how freestyle came out, Electro Funk became a thing, and then the West Coast Electro came out, all of that based on the strength of Planet Rock. I know in Florida, that's all the records we had were records like Tommy Boy records. We didn't really have access to a lot of different hip hop sounds that were going on. And so Florida really took off with on the strength of Planet Rock with the Miami bass and things like that.
Miami bass was much different. That was its own subcategory.
Yep.
That's when things started to split into different categories.
Split up, yeah, and the trap music and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, honestly, it had to be premeditated. Me personally, my attack was to blow everybody out. That was my plan of attack. And I wanted to do something completely different from what everybody was doing. Tom, of course, he had another strategy. Arthur and John, they had another strategy. So Sonic, myself, band, we wanted to just blow out competition. But as far as the success of it reaching the point that it is today, I don't think anybody expected that. But we did have high expectations and knew the potential of what we were doing, because it's like a cell, and we all contributed to it to make it what it is. And you know, it just the timing, the audience we pitched it to, whatever underground and overground was taking place, radio stations in New York, hip hop being the hottest thing coming out, and it being exposed on that level where it was on record and being distributed across the planet Earth. All of these elements combined are the reason for the success of that song.
Man, I would say that Planet Rock was the most influential, if not one of the most influential records of all times. I would think so. That's my own personal opinion.
And you know, that's not a vocoder on there doing rock, Planet Rock. It's a digital delay with the
reverb
feedback
thing,
turned up.
Yeah, like a PCM something. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, that's even before. Might have been before vocoder. Well, no, nobody could
really
afford them. You know what I mean? I mean, vocoder was $3,000, and who could afford that? You know.
I got one on my computer. It's freeware
I use
too.
Plug-in now. That sounds. My vocoder I picked up on 47th Street. Electric Light Orchestra used it on Mr. Blue Sky and all these rock records, and gave it to Sam Ash Music. And I said, "Oh my God, I knew what it was. I said, what's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's a Pro Quarter or something like that." And I said, "How much?" He goes, "Give me $50. I just want it out of here." And I went home and I did an album. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm gonna run real
that.
quick. I do want to say this to Globe, and I want everybody to know this. Planet Rock was the first time that I heard when I was 11 years old. It was the first time that I heard a song. All three versions were played all day long during the daytime on FM radio. They never played the instrumental of a rap record. There was no need to, unless it was a late night mix show. But they played the vocal. They played the instrumental, and the instrumental was like its own version, really. It wasn't just the instrumental. It had stuff that the vocal didn't. Then they played the little 2-minute bonus beats. So it blew our minds. You know, it really blew our minds. The first day I heard it, to hear three versions within a couple hours was really groundbreaking. So again, I want to be amongst all of you, and everybody take it easy, be safe.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Do the same, Jay.
Be good.
We'll chop it up soon.
Yes, sir. Everybody be good.
All right, brother.
All right, you too.
Yeah, I first heard Planet Rock in my bedroom. I turned on the radio, and they were playing the instrumental. And I was like, what the hell is this? I thought it was like a short commercial or something, but it kept going for like 5-6 minutes. And I was like, wow, this is really tight. This is nice. And then when I went to school the next day, man, all the kids were talking about Planet Rock, and then we were buying the records.
But did you hear Kraftwerk before that? Because I think what Planet Rock did is it took that sound and made it urban, and then opened that whole thing to a whole audience. That if you weren't some white kid listening to Kraftwerk or in an urban city way, you know, some DJs are playing it, all of a sudden, like, what's the sound?
I heard my next record.
It was its own style.
I heard Numbers after I heard Planet Rock, because then the radio started playing Numbers. And then the third thing is I heard Hip Hop Bebop. And then I was like, wow, this music is really just everybody's. And I was just buying records, anything that remotely had the name Scratching in it, or hip hop in it, or, you know, Tommy Boy on it, or anything like that. I was just buying all that shit, import, whatever. I was just keyed into that as a kid, you know, because I was in love with electro and hip hop at that point. You know, Planet Rock really ushered all that shit right into my consciousness.
It was major.
You know,
major,
originally
major
everybody was, excuse me, everyone was driven to the instrumental. That was first broadcast on the air, the instrumental. And big shout out to Lady B from Philadelphia. She flipped it over and started rocking the vocal, and everybody was like, "Whoa, this is fire!" So, you know, but the elements of that song, forget about it, gentlemen. I really cannot express enough how amazing this goes for you too, Man Parrish, and for you also, Pinky. It's like, I mean, to harness that sound,
well,
and
you know,
to
John
make it
Roby
what
is a
it
really
still
good
is today. It's like
John Roby
wow.
is a really good
No.
keyboard player. You know, John Roby is a great keyboard player, and he knows how to. You can
Roby
be a keyboard player, but you have to know how to arrange, right? So you know
That's
where
my
to
boy,
put your
man.
sounds, right? So you could put a record where you play everything everywhere, but John Roby knew that there were like Latin hooks and different hooks and brighten that sound and da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, to that. You know what I mean?
Planet Patrol,
If you listen
Rocket
to
Throne
Looking
riff.
for the Perfect Beat, if you listen to the outro of Looking for the Perfect Beat on the instrumental side, you will hear him play a
and
melody.
you know him and
East
Arthur
Country.
don't speak anymore, right? You know him and Arthur don't speak anymore, which is a shame.
Hold on, man. There's a melody for every country that we shouted out. That's how talented John was with knowing melodies and keyboards, like Man Parrish was saying. Super dope, man.
That influenced Twilight 22 as well, because Twilight 22 incorporated that Middle Eastern sound. Yep. And I think Looking for the Perfect Beat kind of it kind of inspired that.
Yeah,
amazing, man. Yeah,
him and Arthur don't speak anymore.
You know, John and Roby, they don't. I mean, I hope they do. Behind, you know, I hope it's like I thought the slap was with Will Smith and Chris Rock. I was hoping that was fake too.
No, this is much.
But you know, I'm hoping John and Arthur at least converse. I mean, because those two minds together, forget it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say something. If it wasn't for John, those records wouldn't have been made, because I know Arthur and his style, and I know what John does, right? John made those records. I mean, Arthur was good because he knew how to pull talent together, get the studio and mix, and he knew how to get sounds, and he pushed people to do it. But John was the one that came up with all these lines and all these, you know, sounds and counter beats and stuff like that. And then you know, came down to money, you know, didn't get paid, you know, and
yeah, you know, every record, when I saw Tommy Boy Records and I saw John Roby on it, I kind of knew that shit was gonna be dope. Like Danger Zone with
you know what, $100, you know what I mean?
Honestly,
some of those records where he was promised when he's a co-writer on Hip Hop Bebop. I didn't know that until about 8 years later when I finally looked at the fine print on the label, because the label didn't want to pay him, so they gave him a third of my publishing. I mean, couldn't the guy get a $500, you know, fee when you pay people $200?
Yeah, because most of the time he was hired as an engineer. You know, that was a controversy because he's mostly hired as an engineer. But I disagree with you on one thing, Mr. Parrish, as far as like that it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for John, because Arthur had that gutter mentality. He had a way of, you know, he knew how to the combination of the two.
Yeah,
unbeatable. Man,
but do you think if they got somebody else who would have sounded different, there would be different?
No, it would definitely sounded different. Yeah, it would have.
Yeah,
it would have. I think so. Unless it was somebody like you, because you got that gutter too. You know, you brought it up out the street too, really well.
I left home at 14, and I was homeless, and I was a white boy from Brooklyn, but I was in the streets. You know what I mean? So I had a hard edge to me. You know what I mean? You know, there's stories, and they're all true.
Like that B-side to the
even if it was Pinky B could have did it too. I mean, you guys know that. You know what I'm saying? It's a formula to everything. No man is his own island. You know, it's like a formula.
It's knowing how to penetrate the spirit of the street and give it a shot of adrenaline. And that's what it really takes.
Good way to put that.
The urban areas, and from that attacked the whole country.
But when you made those records, you were just doing stuff that hopefully they would play at, at the Fever or something. It wasn't like rap where you were portraying a message through word or rhyme, trying to, talk about a situation. You just wanted to get some good beats that people could dance, and hopefully your record could be played. So the motivations for making those records weren't, we're going to bring the street out and take over the world. You were going to hopefully just get some good play and people would like your music. You know what I mean? It wasn't political and it wasn't negative.
Not at all.
It was the old school, rappers delight. Everybody put your hands together. But
my imagination, the mentality of the rappers, though, the rappers who, when they heard those records, that was their world. So like a person like MC G.L.O.B.E, this was like his point to put on vinyl what he wanted to speak on. Yeah. Like he would use his poetry to like speak to the world, because that was the world where producers may come and DJs may come at it a little different and say, I'm just trying to get the hot track that's going to play and get a few spins at the club. Whereas rappers like G.L.O.B.E and others like Rakim, for example, these guys put their heart and soul into their lyricism. And they felt like,
foundation of rap. It's the foundation of rap,
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of that music didn't have rhymes on it,
Right. Very simplistic.
Hip hop was dance music and rap was rhyme. They came together later, and G.L.O.B.E helped it. Obviously one of the first. But those were two separate genres that came together as one. You did dance records, and there was, bringing it together changed the whole genre, basically.
Well, see, that's what I think. That's what I think rap is missing today, and that's why I'm working with Brandon, because the thing about that is a lot of the music today seems very homogenous. It's very
like my mother.
Yeah, it's like just very one-dimensional. It's all sounding the same. It's like, what's the hot lyric to say? But
it's not about lyrics. It's about grooves and beats.
Yeah. Yeah,
now
it's like
changed. It's not about a message. It's not about a singer. It's about
that's what I'm saying. It's like about a hook or a keyword or a phrase that's really hot now. Like very superficial. But what I'm saying is, if rappers now, if they focus on the lyricism and the art form and really perfecting that would start evolving the hip hop culture again. That's just my own old man rant right there.
Well, that's a good observation. That's a good analysis. But if I may speak in behalf of hip hop, when we were first started blessing the microphones back in the days, all our beats were like 121, between 121 beats per minute, 126 beats per minute. Mm-hmm. It was like it was we was getting it in, and we got our breaks from disco joints and from R&B joints, but mostly disco joints. And it just came around full circle, man. It's just
it really
wonderful.
has, man. Well, look, I'm going to respect everybody's time and just say, hey, man, it's a huge honor to have everybody on the show today. Just being here is just like I said before at the top. I'm like a little kid in the candy store. All my heroes, all my people that I grew up with that got me into the music is directly influenced by the Afrika, Bambaataa, the Soul Sonic Force, Man Parrish, Ray. All you guys were instrumental in getting me into music on my end, so I appreciate it. And
thanks, Scott.
Hats off to you guys. Yes,
Thanks
sir.
very much, Scott.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining. Next week we'll do it again, but until then.
And if I may say, I salute all you guys, man. I salute you, Brandon. I want to hear something out of your camp, baby. Pinky, thank you. Man Parrish, you already know. I hit Man Parrish up last year.
I did it in front, man. My music bang, dude. Like, yeah, it goes.
All right, Man Parrish. I hit Man Parrish up last year, and he said, "Oh, I don't do the music thing anymore, but I'm gonna try again, Man Parrish. I'm gonna try to get you in the studio." Yeah, you.
Are you kidding me? I put out 2 albums and 5 singles like in 2 weeks ago. I have 150 tracks.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's doing it, dude. That's
but
what I'm
not
saying.
doing. See, but I'm not doing that old school hip hop stuff because I know it'll sound stupid if I do it. I'm trying to. I think I don't own my album. I mean, I just claimed it back. I want to take my first album and redo it. Like version 2.0. But I do film scores. I do ambient shit. I do all kinds of stuff.
Man.
You know what I mean? And Man Parrish Stories, STORAS on YouTube if you want to hear about me sleeping with Madonna and
I sure will.
Stick and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I told it all. And I'm going to do one about New York, about all the underground, clubs, the Fun House and the sex clubs and all that, because I didn't do the drugs. I'm diabetic, so if I do drugs, I die, right? So I remember everybody's brain is burnt out. I remember, who you went into that bathroom stall with, you know what I mean? And then did a line of coke and got a blowjob. I remember that, so yeah, lucky I didn't hang out with you guys.
We're gonna send you a track of our stuff and let y'all, mix
fuck
it
up.
or remix it or fuck it up.
Yeah,
fuck it up. That's what I
and
want.
they go, oh my god, they remix it. And I gotta put it out now, but it's stuff, man. But he's got his name, so we gotta put it out because his name is on it. We're gonna have a mix by Man Parrish, but oh fuck, this sounds like shit. What are we gonna do?
Legendary.
Thank you. I'm 40 years too at Hip Hop Bebop. Just saying.
Yep.
All right, guys.
It's coming up. Well,
it was great to meet you. The rest of you guys, awesome.
I want to ask Man Parrish. I want to ask him, man. What's the most memorable experience you had recording music? Something that always stays in the back of your mind as being something that's like a benchmark in your life.
Wow.
Something that always stood out for you.
Well, I mean, my first album, because I never was in a recording studio before. I only had a little setup. It's like a DJ setup at home, and suddenly you're at, Paradise Garage or the Palladium in front of thousands of people. It's like that kind of like, what? Like, So that was the biggest thing like that. But I worked with Boy George. I did, when I played Studio 54, Michael Jackson asked me to remix Speed Demon. And we got a call from Quincy Jones, and they sent over the digital tracks. We couldn't have it. The studio could have it because they didn't want it to go missing. And Michael, we soloed Michael's singing, and I heard this boom, boom. Like, what the fuck is that? He would stand there and stomp his feet while he was singing. So we had to roll off the bass and try to get a gate to cut out, and we could barely do it, but we managed to get a gate where it cut out the because he'd bang his foot and it would reverb in the vocal booth, and we had to gate it down. So that's very memorable. We did this mix, and Michael hated it. Quincy Jones loved it, and it never came out. So it's sitting in Sony somewhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Michael Jackson, he messed it up, man. We should have.
And for 6 years, I traveled around the world with the Village People, and we were in Iceland in the middle of a snowstorm. We were stuck there for a week because they couldn't even clear the runways. We went to sleep. We woke up the next day, and the snow was up to the second-story window, so they cut out, past. We played that night, and this 80-year-old woman in a wheelchair went to the front of the stage, and as they're singing like YMCA, she lifted her top and showed her tits to the group. And the guy, I mean, they're all gay except for the lead singer. The lead singer is Ashman and Simpson, Valerie Simpson's brother. And they were like, so afterwards, the construction guy, he had written in his shirt backwards, he would turn around and flip up his shirt and say, "Show us your tits." So that's something I remember to this day. I mean, they were like pancake titties, wrinkled shit, what I mean? Shit you don't forget.
Never.
That wasn't recording, but that would definitely scarred me.
John, what was your most memorable time in the studio making a record?
Oh, wow. To be completely honest with you, it was during Planet Rock. We were doing the third verse. And my style was awkward. My attack to the beat was different. And Arthur was saying, Globe, that doesn't go with the beat. And I said, Arthur, it does. Just give it some time. It has to grow on you. Give it some time. it's
Right.
gonna
Dude,
work.
you're a
It's
white
gonna
guy.
work.
Shut up.
And he says, no, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. And I said, Arthur, please, we're almost, we're there. Third verse of the song. So that went on for a few minutes, and finally I just took the cans off, put them down, and said, I'm not doing a song. I started heading for the door. And everybody was like, no, come on back, come back. So I came back. And the verse was, the soul sonic force, Mr. Biggs, Pow Wow, and MC G.L.O.B.E, we emphasize to show we got ego. And it was like it just wasn't laying right at the moment because he was getting used to, this MC pop thing. And I never forgot that because, man, I almost shot myself in the foot by not recording that song, man.
Wow.
So that would be my most memorable. Yeah.
And now you can put that stuff in Logic and line up the beats to whatever phrasing you want. It's like you come like so crazy in the future. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Brandon, what
Unbelievable.
about you? Most memorable time you remember for yourself being in the studio or doing something musically that you could never forget it. It was such an impact on you.
Man, music-wise, I'd have to say when I went to Mexico, I was just out in Mexico last year. Me and my auntie, I went just for vacation. We was just gonna kick it. Had no intentions on performing or doing any music, right? I was like, I'm gonna kick back. I'm just gonna chill.
They are so crazy there.
Margaritas with mamacitas, you feel me? But we ended up going out to this club out in like Jalisco in Mexico, and I performed one song, and like everybody went wild. Like they were buying us drinks. And then, they had us go on again. They were like paying the DJ. And I was like,
They are serious
like,
about their shows there. Yeah, they're crazy there. It's
so
great.
then I think it was the next day we end up doing the Rhythm of the Nights cruise, which is in Nuevo Vallarta and Puerto Vallarta. So it just so happens, I don't know how my auntie be working this magic, but shout out my auntie Mo was having. We're on the boat or the yacht, whatever you want to call it, the 2-floor yacht, whatever boat, whatever, what have you, on the way back from the show. And she's like, y'all need to let my nephew perform, whoop-de-whoop. So we ran summertime, like 3 songs at a summertime. So I'm rocking on the boat, like performing. So it just showed me a lot about myself. Having the 3s is for me, that's what it says in the Bible. I don't know how y'all feel about it, whatever. But yeah, so like that just showed me what I was able to do, how people really responded, how parents were like allowing their kids to come and like talk to me. So it just showed me like what I could really do. So I'd say that was like my performance wise. If we're talking recording, it's when Carlos Takam first came to the studio with me, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm not fucking this up. And I just went ham and did like 4 songs in like an hour, just banged it. And I was like, let's fucking go.
Dude, he loves you, man. Carlos loves you to death.
No, that's
man.
my guy, man. He got me squatting 405 and deadlifting damn near 500. So like I can't even.
You gonna walk him out.
I gotta get out of here because dinner's ready and I'm getting stink eye right over here. But I just want to say something. I never got paid a lot for my records, but it's stuff like this and hearing people saying that they like music, that's worth millions of dollars to me. So I would love the money, but being asked to do these things is worth all the money in the world. And it makes me know, even though I didn't get paid, that people listen. And if you're a musician, that's what you want to do. You want people to listen to your music, hopefully. So, thank you for this.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Amen.
Guys, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate y'all letting me be a part of this. Scott, everybody. Just
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I hope one day to do something very, very similar and obtain very similar success. So big ups to y'all. Glad y'all doing well.
Yes. Next week, I should be in South Florida. Maybe I'll see Man Parrish down there, trying to hook up with a booking agent to get me and Brandon set up on doing some shows and stuff like that.
If you're friends with Arthur, he's down there. He booked me into some place without even asking me, and my stuff was like in the newspaper. And said, I'm like, Arthur, you didn't ask me. Oh, forgot to ask you.
Put him a good. I don't know him yet,
Arthur,
but
I'm in mid Florida, like 40 miles north of Palm Beach. But Arthur knows all the clubs down there.
I'm going to Sarasota.
Oh, Sarasota's West Coast. All right.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Pretty cool.
But hey, guys, it was a pleasure.
Gentlemen. Pinky, thank you.
You got it.
Everybody.
Scott. Brandon.
Yep.
I'm listening out for you. Let's get it.
Hey,
Let's get it,
I
man.
got you. I'm gonna make sure and you hear it. I'm gonna make sure it's something. I got you. Oh yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you're gonna
Give me
hear
a
it.
shout out. Shout the G.L.O.B.E out, baby.
I got you.
Well,
I got you. I got some new music. Hey, I'm actually recording this new EP. Scott, I'm just about done with the last song. So
Okay, good. I can't wait to hear it, man.
It's
Good
going
for you,
down.
man.
It's going down.
It's
and
already
I just
dope.
wanted to say, everybody gets a free copy of the porno movie that I worked on. All right.
All right.
Wait a minute. It's a
Hey,
gay
we gotta
movie,
make
so I
sure
don't
we
think.
get
Don't.
that.
Don't.
I
Don't
knew
say
that
yes
was
to
coming.
right away, all
How
right?
did I know that was coming?
Talk to you guys later.
All right, guys.
Twilight 22 for life, baby.
Twilight 22.
Scott, Brandon, yes.
Later.
Y'all be good, man. We'll
Bye-bye.
catch y'all on the
Peace.
rebound.
You got it.
All right, no doubt.